When we think about a city story, we usually look at its monuments, right? Or maybe its museums. But what if the real story, the one about its age, its struggles, and all its secrets, is hidden right beneath our feet, inside its pipes? Well, today we're going underground to explore the hidden plumbing of Somerville, Massachusetts, and you're going to be surprised at what we find.
So let me ask you this. What does your city's history have to do with your shower's water pressure? It sounds like a kind of weird question, I know, but the answer connects a whole century of history, geology, and architecture directly to the water coming out of your faucet. And the city of Somerville gives us a perfect look at this hidden connection.
Okay, so first let's zoom all the way out and look at the big picture. We're talking about the invisible, citywide forces that are putting constant pressure on the plumbing in every single home in Somerville.
When you picture a classic New England city, what do you see? You probably imagine dense neighborhoods, historic homes, and some really tough winters. Well, that's Somerville in a nutshell. But here's the thing. That same history that gives the city its charm also creates massive, modern-day challenges for its infrastructure.
And these aren't just one-off problems. This is a constant battle. The city literally sits on clay soil that shifts and squeezes pipes with every single freeze-thaw cycle. You've got infrastructure that's over a century old, regular freezing temperatures, and even steep hills that make everything more complicated. It's basically a perfect storm of environmental and historical factors, all working against the city's plumbing.
So that's the war happening under the ground. Now let's zoom in a bit and see how that battle plays out inside the very buildings that define Somerville's neighborhoods, the iconic triple-decker.
It all really boils down to how interconnected everything is. See, in a single-family home, your plumbing is pretty much your problem. But in a triple-decker, a leak inside a shared wall isn't just one family's headache. It can quickly become a crisis for 2 or even 3 families. A simple repair can turn into this incredibly complex puzzle, where one person's clogged drain might actually cause a backup in their neighbor's apartment downstairs.
All right, so we've looked at the city-level challenges and the building-level complications. But now we need to go even deeper. We need to go inside the walls to find a very specific, age-related problem that's like a ticking time bomb in so many of these historic homes.
And the culprit? Galvanized pipes. Now, for decades, coating steel pipes in zinc seemed like a genius idea to prevent rust. But this solution, well, it came with a hidden flaw, a flaw that takes 50 or 60 years to really show itself.
Here's the really insidious thing about galvanized pipes. They don't fail from the outside. They corrode from the inside out. So for years, everything seems totally fine. Then you might notice your water pressure slowly dropping, or maybe the water looks a little rusty. That's the corrosion building up inside, choking off the flow, until one day, the pipe just fails completely. It's an invisible decay that requires a full and, yeah, very expensive replacement.
So, with all these complex, layered problems, you can probably see why the solutions have to be just as specialized. This is not a job you can fix with some generic manual you find online.
I mean, think about it. A plumber in Somerville has to be part historian, part geologist, and part legal expert. They have to know which buildings might be hiding old lead service lines, understand the crazy layout of the city's ancient brick sewers, and navigate Massachusetts' very, very specific building codes.
And this kind of local expertise is absolutely critical because the stakes are just so high. Massachusetts has incredibly strict codes for things like backflow prevention to keep the drinking water safe, and it requires a special license just to work on gas lines. A real professional knows how to navigate this whole world of permits and inspections, making sure the work isn't just safe, but also legal, which protects a homeowner from huge problems down the road.
Okay, so we've gone deep into the geology, the architecture, and the pipes themselves. But what does all of this actually mean for the people who live in these homes? What's the real-world cost of dealing with all this hidden history?
Get ready for this. $8,000 to $15,000. That's the typical cost to repipe just one house in Somerville. And just like that, all those invisible problems, the shifting soil, the old infrastructure, the corroding pipes, suddenly have a very, very real price tag. And you've got to understand that price tag isn't just for new pieces of metal. It's the cost of expertise. It's the price of working within the shared walls of a triple-decker. When it comes down to it, it's the cost of fighting back against more than 100 years of history buried right there, under your feet.
In the end, a city's plumbing is really like its autobiography, you know? It's just written in iron and copper instead of ink and paper. The pipes in your own home, they tell a story about its age, its environment, and the people who built it. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Do you know what story your walls are telling?